What's up, y'all? Welcome to another bonus episode for the Elden Ring Quick Platinum All Achievements Guide. We're going to be going through New Game Plus Plus in this episode, so I'm going to go ahead and begin journey number 3. And so again, these kind of bonus episodes, I'm calling them bonus episodes, are really for either those of you who just want to watch them for whatever reason or another, or for those of you who, didn't want to have to reload saves to get the different endings on your original playthrough. So I wanted to be true to the original intent of the walkthrough. I wanted to follow things all the way through to the end, even though I've technically already gotten the Platinum Trophy, via saving to the cloud on PS5 and reloading that save. But if you want to do things without having to do that, then you'd have to go through New Game Plus and New Game Plus Plus. That's what I'm doing here. This is my New Game Plus Plus. And after this, we will have gotten all endings required for the Platinum Trophy, which again are the Ronnie ending, which I suggest you do in your base New Game. The Frenzied Flame ending, which I suggest doing in your New Game Plus. And in this, we're just going to get the default ending, which of course requires no additional side quest requirements, which is why I saved that one for last, because of course you wouldn't want to go through the whole Ronnie side quest, which is quite extensive in New Game Plus, etc. So that's why I'm doing things in this particular order. So we killed the Graphic Scion. In order to proceed, you have to intentionally fall off this cliff. And that will take us to the starting area in Limgrave. So, skip the cutscenes. I mean, this is pretty much going to be the same exact thing that we did for New Game Plus. So commentary-wise, I'm not going to have a whole lot to add. Just in terms of we're kind of going through the motions yet again. So I may not talk a whole lot in this episode. If I do, probably not going to be entirely game related. So we'll see whatever comes across my mind and just go from there. It'll be a wild card. But one thing I am going to tweak in this playthrough is opposed to my New Game Plus run, is that in the New Game Plus run, I got to the Altus Plateau by way of the Rune-strewn Precipice. This time, I'm going to get the Dectus Lift medallions, and see if that's any faster. If memory serves in my New Game Plus, it took me about a half hour to get to the Altus Plateau, and so we'll see if this is any quicker or slower, as it should turn out. And one thing I will add is that the bosses are going to be slightly tougher, or they're going to be slightly stronger. They may or may not be tougher because we are also stronger. So it really is just going to depend on the scaling, how they scale it up for New Game Plus Plus, because the enemies do get tougher all the way through. Oh, I can't level up yet because I don't have Melina. So they will be tougher until you get to New Game Plus 7, which at that point you go to New Game Plus 7 plus 8. You could be New Game Plus 100. After New Game Plus 7, they don't scale up anymore. So they're going to have the same attack power, same defense, and will give you the same number of runes from New Game Plus 7 all the way up, if you so choose to play that high. So again, you have to trigger this Site of Grace here to trigger the conversation with Melina, so that way you can level up, and that will allow you to get in the capital. If you don't trigger this cutscene, then you will not be able to get into the capital later on. So I'm going to spend this these million runes that I have. So I will level up, and this will be going into strength until I get to strength 60. I'm going to make this daytime as well. So for the Dectus Lift medallions, I'm going to be going into Eastern Limgrave. I'll be getting the one in Caelid first, and then I'll get the one in Fort Height. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that off on my map. You go in here, and then turning north to get all the way to the Third Church of Americas, where I'm headed. Because that has the warp point to Caelid, which is close-ish to Fort Faroth, which is where the first medallion that'll be getting. And then, as I said, the second one will be in Fort Heights. So, and then when we get to the Altus Plateau, I will check and see if it was any faster than the half hour it took us to get through the ruin-strewn precipice. I mean, this way has quite a bit more horseback riding involved in the process. So it could be a wash, but what it will do is it'll save us from having to go through a dungeon and then kill the magma worm Makar at the end of that dungeon. So might be a little bit faster, might be a little bit slower, but we're going to find out for ourselves in just a bit here. So, but other than that, I plan on keeping the route exactly the same. Only major difference being at the end, when we get to the capital of Ash, we will not be doing the subterranean shunning grounds because we don't have to. We're just going to go straight from Malekith to killing Gideon and so forth. So this playthrough will actually be a little bit shorter, or in theory it should be, than the previous one. It is a bit of a trek to the Third Church of Marika, but okay, gonna unlock the Site of Grace so we can warp back to it later. And then we are going to use the warp point that's just up here to warp to the Dragon Barrow. There it is. It's hidden behind these bushes here. Oop. Something, my hunch tells me that this is going to take longer than just going through the dungeon. So my initial instinct, I believe, probably was correct. Oh, Blackblade didn't even attack me. That's... I didn't even see his health bar pop up. That's interesting. But then, yes, after this, we're still going to go through Stormvale, kill Godric, go through Rhea Lucaria, kill Renala. And then from there, the route is up through the Altus Plateau, get to the capital, kill Morgott, then Fire Giant, then Farum Azula. Yeah, just getting to Fort Faroth, that's like... that's an ordeal in of itself. And take the long way around the tree here. Hopefully I won't trigger the Avatar boss fight. Throw on my lantern because it's going to be hard to see inside of there. Unlock this in case I die. Okay. If I could access my map right now. There we go. Just gonna warp straight back here, and then we're gonna be headed all the way south to Fort Height. For the other half. I estimate probably about a minute and a half till we get there. Can I make this? I don't think so. All right, we have arrived. Not going to fight anybody except maybe the guy at the top. If he chases after me, which I expect he will. Yep, here he comes. Oh, that's and one of the other enemies, other soldiers is coming after me too. That's fine. Not gonna be able to warp out of here till I kill him. Come on. All right, make sure I picked it up. I sure did. Okay, so now off to Stormvale, and from this point, other than cutting out the rune-strewn precipice, the run's pretty much going to be nearly identical to the New Game Plus run. So we'll see at what point do I get to the Altus Plateau, and if this saved me or costed me any time, or if it even makes a difference. We'll see. So I think 30 minutes is about where I was at when I got the Altus Plateau last time. So I'll be interested to know to see if see what the time difference is. If there is one. So anyway, hope you guys are all doing well today. I'm recording this on Sunday afternoon. It's October 9th. And my kids are all napping right now. Normally, I would choose to nap right now as well. But I figured this is probably my only chance today to actually record this. Oh, dang it. So I figure it's now or wait till tomorrow, and I didn't want to have to wait till tomorrow because if all goes perfectly according to plan, which, let's be real, hardly ever does it actually do that. The goal is to start my Thymesia playthrough live streams tomorrow if possible, which if you're watching this, then that would be today. Assuming that I get this uploaded and live in time for Monday, which assumes that my kids don't wake up in the middle of me doing this playthrough, which I think I should be fine, but we'll see. Yeah, I got to do this thing and warp to the round table hold, blah, blah, blah. Okay, go back here. But yeah, man, I normally treasure those Sunday afternoon naps, but not today. Oh, come on, let me summon. Thanks for being patient, Margit. Oh, how did that not hit him? Come on. You didn't even get to second phase. Beautiful.
I shall remember thee, tarnished, smoldering with thy meager flame. Cower in fear of the night. The hands of the fell omen shall brook thee no quarter. It's tightly. God, you breached. Well, but of course.
All right, this part's always tricky.
Open the gates!
But anyways, the reason why I wouldn't be able to record this tonight as opposed to now is because I'm actually in the middle of training for a marathon in January. And for me, prime running time is in the evening, right around when the sun goes down, because I live in Texas and it is brutally hot otherwise, even though it is starting to cool off, thank God. But sunset is prime time for me, just because I tend to sweat a lot, and for longer runs, it is much easier to run when it's cooler outside. So I will be doing that tonight, and the plan is to go for this particular run 13 miles, so we'll see if I make it that far tonight, but that's the goal. Yeah, back in the day before having kids, my wife and I used to do a bunch of like long distance endurance type stuff. So this would be actually my third marathon in my life, but it would be my first one since 2015, which is 2015 was before we had any kids, and now we have 3. So definitely life is quite a bit different now than it was in 2015. That is for dang sure. But along with training for the marathon, I've also kind of I've altered my eating habits quite substantially as well, to try to get back to like my circa 2015 weight, which is much different than it is now. So with all that being said, I've actually lost like 30 pounds since June. So it's been hard work, but it's been worth it. But I've almost considered, like, do I need to change my channel name now? Because slowly but surely, the dad bod that I once had, that, you know, I wore it proudly. It is slowly but surely fading away. So I don't know if it still applies. I mean, it's still technically, you know, it's still there, but it's not as pronounced as it once was. But the goal is to get back to like my weight when I was in college, because, you know, as one could very easily figure out, it's easier to run when you weigh less. So that's kind of what I'm shooting for, is to get back in good running shape overall. So we'll see how things go. We'll see if I can stay the straight and narrow for the long haul. And my goal for the marathon is to do it in 4.5 hours, which, if you're going to consider like what would be a quote unquote fast marathon time, 4.5 hours is definitely not it. 4.5 hours would be fast for me. But the world record sits at just over... The world record marathon time by comparison is just over 2 hours. So In other words, a world record pace would be more than twice as fast as I run. So, but 4.5 hours would be very good for me. And in order for me to do that, I'm gonna have to be in pretty much peak physical condition. As I've said, I've run 2 other ones before, and so far my best time is about 4 hours and 53 minutes. But I'm trying to take this one more seriously and to do a better job of training and whatnot. So we'll see how all that goes. I want to mark on my map where I need to go. Right here. Laskyar Ruins, and then here's where I'm going to get my Glintstone key. So if I could swing 4.5 hours, I would be thrilled. That would be great for me. But I'd still probably, if you consider everyone's finishing time in a given race, 4.5 hours would probably be the bottom 50%. But everybody's built differently. I hate to say it, but running in general, like endurance speed, it doesn't matter how much you train. Well, it does matter how much you train, but there is a strong genetic component involved with it as well. So, for example, if you take, someone who has like a, we'll say like a, just for the sake of comparison, like a Lance Armstrong type person. And most people know him from cycling, even though he used a lot of performance-enhancing drugs and whatnot. But most people know him from cycling, but he also did triathlon. And so he is a very strong runner as well. So if you take someone like him, I'm just using him for name recognition because most people know who he is. And then compare him to someone like me. We could, if you took Lance Armstrong and me and put us both on the same exact training program, we trained for the same exact amount of time, the same intensity, had the same coach, everything else equal, same diet, same everything. He would obviously be he would end up much faster than me just because he has a much better cardiovascular system and musculature, all that kind of stuff. And so, genetics, all that to say is that genetics definitely plays a role in it. And I'm not the most genetically gifted person in the world. But, the other part of it is just being willing to set a goal for yourself and work hard and go for it. So, with that being said, I believe, absent of some sort of medical condition, if you have, a heart problem or, asthma, even people with asthma, are able to do marathons and stuff like that. But, there are some folks that have a very serious medical condition that would prevent them from doing such a thing. But absent something like that, I'm a firm believer that anybody can do something like that as long as you set the goal and are willing to work towards it. And that's really what it is for me, is just a matter of pushing myself beyond what I thought, in previous years, what I thought that I'd be able to do, pushing myself beyond that. And there's a sense of satisfaction that comes with it. It's kind of similar to Souls, honestly, kind of similar. And I lump in Elden Ring with Souls in general. Is, you face a challenge, and at first that challenge may seem too big to overcome. But when you break it down into smaller bits, you attack it with strategy and a plan. I'm a firm believer that you can get through just about anything. So that's kind of the mentality of it that I guess that attracts me to that sort of thing. But so that is the goal. Yeah, this is definitely going to take longer than 30 minutes. I'll probably kill Renala at 30 minutes. I don't know. If it takes me... I'm at 24, so yeah, it'd take me about 6 minutes to run through here and kill Renala. So this way definitely takes longer. So mystery solved. Go through the Rune-strewn Precipice. That's faster than getting the 2 halves of the Dectus Medallion. Oh, I've never had this happen before where a dog comes up on here with me. But other than all that going on, I am a little bit sad today. And the reason for that is I happen to be a very large college football fan. And last night, I went to Texas A&M University, so you know we're big on football at Texas A&M, and you know we play in the SEC. We have a stadium that seats like close to 110,000 people. It's a massive stadium, and you know our team name is the Aggies, so we are a very loyal bunch of people to our school and to our team. And last night we played Alabama, who, those of you who don't follow college football, Alabama is the #1 team in the nation in college football, and they have been pretty much the team to beat for going on 10 or 12 years now, ever since Nick Saban took over Alabama. And, you know, they're #1. They've won several national championships in the last several years. And I think they've won 6 in like the last 12 years, which is insane. And we actually did beat them last year. And last night we played Alabama again. Last year when we beat them at home. This year we were playing them at Alabama. And the game came down to the very last play. And long story short, we blew it. But what it came down to was we were on the 2-yard line with 3 seconds left in the game. So basically, it was do or die. That we were within 1 touchdown. If we scored a touchdown on that play, we win the game. That's what it comes down to. So it's oh my gosh, I just got parried. So on the 2-yard line, and touchdown wins the game. Anything less loses the game. And dang it. And let's just say we probably ran the worst game-deciding goal line situation play call since the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl several years ago against the Patriots, when all they had to do was run the ball up the middle with Marshawn Lynch, and instead they decide they're going to throw it and try to get fancy and cute, and then, you know, in that case the pass got intercepted and they lost. But in this case, it was a terrible play call, and you know one could assume that by the way I'm talking, that we did not score the touchdown. And we lost the game. We had a chance to beat #1 and we blew it. But, you know, it is what it is. Life goes on. And all, you know, most everything else is still, can't complain, so. Yeah, as I said, that's where I went to school, and I graduated many years ago, but, I still am a big college football fan. Not so much NFL, but I do watch NFL from time to time. NFL's still good. Right, that was good Renala kill, but we're already at 30 minutes and we're still not at the Altus Plateau, so it's... Now, granted, when we take the Grand Lift up there, we'll be closer to where we need to go than where the Ruined Stream Precipice gets you, but ultimately I think it's slightly slower to go this way, although it's comparable but slower. It's all good. All right, so warp here. Yes, I do love me some football. When it comes to the NFL, though, I'm more of a Steelers fan, because I was in fact born in Pittsburgh, And my dad was born and raised in Pittsburgh, so of course, sports teams and that type of stuff tends to get passed down through family and whatnot. So my dad was always a Steelers fan growing up. I was born in Pittsburgh, was raised to be a Steelers fan. Did not live in Pittsburgh for very long myself, but growing up, that was always our team. So I've kind of followed suit. And the Steelers are not doing so hot this year at all. And of course, the hometown team, the Texans, are awful as well. But as far as sports are concerned, though, we also have the Astros here in Houston, which the Astros are doing real well. Headed to the postseason, maybe another World Series if we can pull it off. We'll see. But as far as sports teams in this city, that's about all we have going for us right now. Because after losing to Alabama last night, my Aggie football team, we're sitting at 3-3, which is not very good. So at this point, the best we can hope for is maybe like a mid to lower tier bowl game. Which, meh. We pay our coach like $10 million a year, so we pay for more than that. So that's what we hope for, but that's not what we're getting, unfortunately. But it's all good. Comes with the territory. Oh, keep that strength going up. Yep, so this is, I would say, a good couple minutes slower than the other way. But honestly, it's easier. The ruin-strewn precipice can be a pain, not gonna lie. Okay, so just gonna mark my path here, go here, 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 and then we're gonna fight the Draconic Tree Sentinel again. It's late day. Normally I'd warp the time, but I'm not conveniently right next to a site of grace to do that, so part of this might just have to happen at night, which I don't think there's any night bosses that we're gonna go past anyways, so should be alright anyway. We'll see. There is one that spawns right here, though. But we'll be past this area by the time nighttime hits. Oh, the dual tree sentinels. I remember the first time I ran past these guys, my first playthrough, my mind was kind of blown because I was not at all prepared for that encounter. But come to find out, that's kind of a theme in this game, that the bosses that used to give you trouble in the beginning of the game, later in the game, they basically put you in situations where you can fight two of them at the same time. And that goes for Tree Sentinels just then. That goes for the Black Blade Gargoyles, that one that just swooped down. We have to fight two of them in a boss fight later in the game. That goes for the Crucible Knights, where there's a double Crucible Knight boss fight later in the game. And then the Godskin Duo, which we actually have to fight in this playthrough. Not good. Not doing a very good job dodging these things. I think they can hurt each other though if they shoot each other, but I'm gonna try to sneak up on this guy. I messed it up last time, but I know you can. I know you can do it. Don't mind me. Oh, yeah, he's gonna see me. Yep. All right, whatever. Get Mimic going. All right, that was pretty clean. Good win. So yeah, as I brought it before, you know, in the last 3 or 4 months or so, I have dropped quite a few pounds. So I've actually, in light of that, I've actually considered, like, should I rebrand the channel because of that? And I don't know. I haven't landed on a decision either way. And if I were to rebrand the channel, like, at this point, I have no idea what I would call it, despite the fact I have spent, you know, I wouldn't say a large amount of time, but the thought has crossed my mind, and I've spent a small amount of time thinking about, okay, if I change the channel name and rebrand and everything, like, what would I call it? And at this point, my answer is I have no idea. Or, you know, I haven't even decided on if I am going to or not. I've just thought of maybe should I, and my answer to that is at this point, maybe yes, maybe no, I don't know. But if you have any thoughts on that one way or the other and would like to voice your opinion, let me know in the comments what you think. If I should, yes or no. And even if you have any ideas, I'd love to hear them. So, but coming up with names is something that's surprisingly difficult to do. I don't know if it's difficult for everybody, but it is definitely difficult for me. And that goes for anything. You know, whether it be this channel or whatever. Naming my kids, that was all very hard. I did not expect naming children to be as hard as it is. But, you know, my wife and I went back and forth many, many, many times on, you know, what we were going to call our children. And I was not anticipating that up front. I didn't think it was going to be that hard to come up with a name for your kid. But, like, I guess if you think about it, I mean, that's the name that, you know, more likely than not, they're going to be going by for the rest of their lives, you know? And so it's like, there ended up being a lot of weight to that decision that I didn't really think about before I had to make the decision. And so that was something that was interesting to me. So I don't know. All that to say, I don't know. But it is likely that in another couple months or so, the dad bod may be a thing of the past. I don't know. But it also, that being said, even if it is a thing of the past, at a point in time, it also might be a thing of the future. Because it is always subject to coming back as well. I don't know. We'll see. But that is something that's possible. You know, it could be on the horizon, a name change. And you know, if I did something like that, thanks to y'all's generosity and support, you know, I could perhaps actually pay like a graphic designer to come up with proper channel art and stuff like that. if I did decide to change my name to something else on YouTube. So, because right now my banner and thumbnail and all that stuff, pretty much made that myself with the help of my wife, and I am no artist. I don't have an artistic bone in my body, but my wife is much better at it than me, and I felt bad about like using her time to help create my stuff, and so I just kind of ran a quick idea by her, and she was able to do it pretty fast, and you know, so I didn't want to hold her up for like hours and hours and hours on end. So we came up with something pretty quick, and it got the job done, you know, for the time being. But you know, that was all back before I started. So now that this has become more of a serious thing for me, it might be worthwhile to come up with something a bit more professional looking. I don't know, but definitely has kind of the homemade vibe going right now, which, you know, isn't bad inherently, but may or may not be the best. Okay, after Morgott, I'll level up. And I am taking a risk here because I'm not unlocking that side of grace, because then the Black Knife Assassin can catch up to me. So I'm basically banking that I'm going to beat Morgott on my first try. Summon immediately. Oh, he didn't like that one bit. Can I one cycle him? No. Barely got away from that AoE. All right. That went well.
Allow me, you are prevented the thorns, a husk, the only way, and become my purpose. So I'd like to the flame then and guide. Shall I turn your let my share them with me? Your thoughts, your
But all that being said, to be quite honest with y'all, my channel name has always been something that I've been at least a little bit self-conscious about, in that the more like basically how I came up with it was as I just thought it was funny. It just kind of sounded kind of catchy, and like I ran it past a couple friends before I even made the channel. I ran the channel name by a couple of friends. They thought it was funny. And so I was like, okay, you know, I could roll with it. And how I came up with it actually is I was talking with, this was a long time ago, I was talking with a friend of mine at work. Just about random crap. I think we were out to lunch or something. And he was talking to me about like how he followed this page on something. It was some social media platform. He followed a page that was called Dads of Destiny. Like the game, you know, the game Destiny. And I thought that was for whatever reason, that name like stuck with me. I thought that was a funny name for some reason, like, you know, catchy. And it was like, okay, you know, there's like gaming communities for people out there, you know, that are in other stages of life, you know, that aren't just, you know, people who are in college or, you know, before college, or, you know, people who are single, you know, like gaming is something now that is, I would say, even socially acceptable for people who are, you know, later on in life, have families and things like that, where before there was somewhat of a stigma associated with it. So I just thought it was cool that, like, you know, it's common enough that there would be something like there'd be a page like that, you know, called Dads of Destiny, just kind of, you know, people who are proud to be dads, but also gamers, you know. And so I just kind of enjoyed that vibe, I guess. And so when I was thinking of this name, the channel for the name for this channel, for whatever reason, stuck with me. And then when I was thinking about my channel name, how I got to Dad Bod was so going back into what I was talking about before with, you know, I mentioned I was training for a marathon. So before you know, we had kids, my wife and I we used to do like a lot of endurance related stuff between us two. And that's actually part of how we met and, you know, became acquainted with one another, because back then the first endurance related event I ever did was a half marathon, and that was because that was right after I graduated from college, and a buddy of mine who he was my roommate for like a year after college, before either one of us got married. He was like, I'm doing this, and you know, you should sign up for it. And that was back before, the longest I'd ever run in that point in my life was 2 miles. And the time before that I ran, I was in college. A couple years before that, I ran 1 mile on an indoor track with my friend and with my roommate at the time. And he was in better shape than me. He was faster than I was, but I tried my hardest to keep up with him for that mile. And I did. But then after that one singular mile, I went to the bathroom and I literally had to puke because I pushed myself that hard just to keep up with him for that 1 mile. And so, you know, fast forward to the other buddy of mine after college, when he mentioned he signed up for that half marathon. It was like, you should do it. At that point in time, I thought the prospect of me actually running a half marathon, I thought it was impossible. I thought it was literally, like, it wasn't impossible overall, but for me, like, that was beyond my physical limit. Like, I would not be able to push myself hard enough to actually do it. And so, you know, I kind of getting maybe a little bit personal, or it kind of into my head. But, you know, I'm the type that in a lot of ways, I doubt myself on a lot of different things. You know, like I think I put a lot of limitations on myself that might not be real. But to me, they're real. To me, I think they're real. And that was one of those things. And I was just like, you know, I'll go for this thing that I think is impossible for me, but, you know, I'll give it my best shot. But at the end of the day, I won't be surprised if it doesn't happen. That was kind of my mentality going into it. And that was also, you know, it turned out being my motivation to do it, was to see, you know, can I push myself this hard? I didn't know at that time. And honestly, my thought was, no, I can't. But I decided to give it a shot anyway. And so, of course, you know, it took probably 10 or 12 weeks to train for that half marathon. And my friend found a training plan online. And so I followed that same training plan. And then, you know, long story short, it ended up happening. And I ended up, like, that kind of shattered a barrier for me, so to speak. And so, but where I'm going with all this is that for that half marathon, that first one, the person who is now my wife actually came out to watch and like support me and my roommate in doing that. And it wasn't just her, it was her and a few other friends. They all came out because it was like, oh, it's a fun thing, you know, it's a way to kill a Saturday morning or whatever. So my wife came out, or the person who is now, she wasn't even my girlfriend at the time, we were not even dating then. And so her and a few other folks came out just to cheer us on and whatnot. And you know, it was a lot of fun. And afterwards we all went out to lunch and enjoyed each other's company, had a good old time, yada yada yada. And so it turned out that a couple of weeks later, the woman who is now my wife, she was doing a triathlon. And so, and in triathlon, much like in just running, you know, triathlon is you swim first and then you bike, you cycle. And then the last leg of a triathlon is running, or walking, or hobbling, or however, whatever energy you have left in the tank at that point in time, you're traversing on foot to the level of your ability, I guess you could say. And so she had a triathlon coming up, and so me and my buddy that we did the half marathon, we're like, okay, so she came out for, you know, our half marathon, so we'll go and support her during her triathlon. So us and, you know, a few other friends went out and you know, cheered her on and all that stuff. And then you know, stuff like that happened, and then we started hanging out more and doing more stuff together, and then that's kind of how, you know, the relationships stuff worked out. Or that's a big part of how the relationship stuff started to work out. But So I had done a half marathon. She did a triathlon, and then, you know, after I did that first half marathon, I decided that I was like, maybe I can do it a little bit faster. Like, it became a question not of can I do this, but then it became a question of how fast could I do this? Can I improve my time? Could I get faster at doing it? And so it becomes sort of addictive in that way, and so that's actually part of how we. You know, got together and whatnot. But that being said, so I had done just, you know, running type events, and she had done triathlon. Though the one that she did that we went to, you know, triathlons come in different shapes and sizes, much like running races do. I mean, you can do a race that's a mile. You can do, I mean, in track, there's races that are 100 meters or 400 meters or 800 meters or a mile, or, you know, a 5K, which is just over 3 miles, or a 10K, or a half marathon, or a marathon, or whatever. There's different distances. So triathlon's much the same way. So there's, you know, your Ironman, which is generally speaking going to be the longest distance that's widely available. It's not the longest distance that exists, but it's the longest distance I would say that's popular in any way. And so she was doing a sprint, which is a shorter distance triathlon, but still very difficult to do, and, you know, takes an hour and a half to maybe a little over 2 hours for the average person to complete. So we went out and supported that. And then by the time my wife and I started dating, and then eventually after we got married, we got the crazy idea of let's try doing an Ironman. And so I went from never having run more than 2 miles in my life to wondering if I could do a half marathon, to then having a goal of doing an Ironman triathlon, which, if you break that down distance-wise, so a triathlon is swim, bike, then run. So an Ironman triathlon, which is, as I said, is the longest kind of popular commercialized distance of triathlon, is a 2.4 mile swim and a 112-mile bike ride and a marathon running or walking or hobbling or whatever you're capable of at that point in time, all back to back to back in the same day. So we got the crazy idea of could we do that? And this was probably about 2013. And so there's actually one that takes place not too far from where we live. I mean, there's maybe like 15 Ironman events that you could sign up for in the United States, and there happened to be one that's like a half hour away from us. So that was just, you know, happenstance that we have one that's close by us, and so that's it's not that big of a commitment for us to get to. Like, some people sign up for Ironmans across the country and they have to fly, and, you know, it's a big production for them to even get to the place, much less the amount of training and stuff required to do one. So we got the crazy idea of what if we could do that, and so that was 2013, and so we actually I had a friend of mine from college who was a track athlete in college, and she, you know, performs at, you know, a higher level, and she did the Ironman that year that was close by us. So we went out to watch her, and my wife and I and a mutual friend of ours went out to watch her. And one thing that we noticed while we were out there is that, like, my assumption at the time was, like, in order to do something like that, you have to be like physical specimen, like you have to be a freak of nature in order to do something like that. And then what I saw when we went out there is, you know, of course there's professionals that are doing it, of course, but then there's, you know, your average Joe out there who's doing it as well. And we saw people that were in, you know, 60, 70 years old, people who had 0% body fat, but then also people who were like, you know, you would look at them and your assumption would be like, okay, they look overweight. Like, there's all kinds of people, all shapes and sizes, all different walks of life out there doing this thing. And so then that gave us the crazy idea of, like, I bet you know, if we signed up and really worked at it, that, you know, we could maybe pull this off. And so we actually at that point decided, okay, we're going to sign up for the one next year. And so we did. And we did that one together. My wife and I and that mutual friend of ours did it together. And, you know, that day, that was in 2014 when we did that. And I did not have my best day out there. It was actually quite terrible for me. I finished, but between the bike and the run, I actually had to stop and lay down in the medical tent because I was just like really exhausted and I wasn't able to keep anything down. I was throwing up. And so I had to take like an hour in the medical tent. And then I ended up walking the vast majority of the marathon because I just didn't have anything left in the tank. And as I said, I was throwing up. I couldn't hold anything down. And it was just a bad day. So I finished in the allotted amount of time. I think I finished in... The amount of time that you have to do it is 17 hours, and I finished it in 15 hours, and oh geez, I'm almost dead. Yep, I'm dead. Oh gosh. That did not go well. And so I finished it in 15 and a half hours roughly, which my goal time was like 13 hours probably. And so missed my goal by a lot, but I did end up finishing. So in the back of my mind, as soon as I finished, I was thinking of, okay, am I going to do this again one day? And kind of try to redeem that experience. And so eventually I did, a few years later, I did sign up for my second one. And that was in 2017, but that was also after we had our first kid. So our oldest had just turned one when I did the second one. And we didn't have our second kid yet. But so we just had the one kid and he had just turned one. And so that said, oddly enough, I wasn't in as good of shape for the second one as I was in the first one. I definitely was heavier. I'm gonna go on and summon Mimic here. I wasn't as good a shape. I was definitely heavier. And so I was a little bit pudgier, for sure. And so I would joke with my friends. I was like, this is This is my my dad bod version of doing the Iron Man, because it was true. I had my first kid, and you know, he was a year old, and I had put on some weight, and so that was just kind of the joke with it for that one. It was the dad bod version of me doing the Iron Man, and and so long story, but. I took kind of the Dads of Destiny thing that my friend had told me he was a part of, and then I combined that with the dad bod version of the Iron Man, and that's how I came up with the name of my channel. So for better or worse, that's how it came to be. And then my one of my first friends who I shared that name with said, well, why don't you just call it Dad Bod Gaming? And I was like, I didn't want my channel name to just be like some word and then gaming at the end of it, just because that's, you know, I feel like that's a very common thing to do. And I wanted to come up with a name that at least somewhat attempted to set myself apart from, I guess, the norm. So that's how I came up with this. And as it turns out, that there is a guy named Dadbot Gaming, and I believe he has a YouTube channel. But his main following is actually on Facebook Gaming, or at least it was last time I looked him up. So I am glad I didn't call myself Dadbod Gaming, because there already is a different guy called Dadbod Gaming. And at least last I looked on Facebook Gaming, he's got like over 100,000 followers, I think. And so it's good that I did not call myself that. But all that being said, the reason why I mentioned before that I'm somewhat self-conscious about that name is because, like, I feel like in a way it's probably endearing to some folks, but in a way I feel like it might exclude me from a certain audience. Like, it's not a quote-unquote cool name, I guess you could say. And so for people who aren't, I mean, it might appeal to people who are kind of in the stage of life that I'm in. You know, they're, you know, graduated from college, or, you know, have a professional, you know, job, have a family, kids, that sort of stuff. It probably really appeals to that audience, but I'm not quite sure if it's at all appealing to people who that's not their life, you know? And so I don't want to have a name that inherently excludes me from large segments of people, if that makes any sense. Part of me thinks maybe I should have come up with a name, try to come up with a name that has more universal appeal. So that's the long story. I don't know. The long story that probably none of you asked for, but I feel like I have the time in doing this right now, so I'm just kind of talking about whatever comes to my mind. And so you guys are getting like a very train of thought sort of experience right now. Because honestly, I have nothing left to talk about this game. I've done a full 100% 60+ hour walkthrough of this game. And then I did the quick guide that we're now wrapping up. I did the New Game Plus, where I kind of, you know, went through the New Game Plus aspect of things. And at this point, I've got nothing left to add as far as actually talking about the game's concerned. So just trying to come up with other crap to talk about. So maybe you guys care, maybe you guys don't. But whether or not you do, I'll leave that up to you. And so, again, I'll put it out there if you guys have an opinion on the name or the quote-unquote brand of my channel or whatever. If you have an opinion on should it change, should it not change, or if it should change, what would you suggest, even? Let me know. I'd be glad to hear y'all's feedback on that. So we'll just leave it at that. As far as that topic's concerned. So we're coming up on the tail end here of this playthrough. Just got to get past Malakath. Hopefully it doesn't give me too much trouble. And then the final slate of bosses. So I think in this playthrough, the Fire Giant has killed me at least once every time. He killed me once in my base game. He killed me once in my New Game Plus. And he killed me once here. So I sense a common theme here. An Elden Beast has also killed me each time. So A flawless Elden Beast in this playthrough would be nice. But we'll see if that happens. I need to see if I have any sleep pots left for the Godskin duo. Hopefully I do, but we'll soon find out, I guess. And this number 4 beacon is driving me nuts right now. I'm gonna have to get rid of it and level up too while I'm at it. All right, 60 strength. I think anything else I might pour into endurance just to get that extra stamina, because sometimes I run out of stamina and it causes problems. Can I find where I place this beacon? It's hard to see where the beacons are. Oh, here it is. But so for those of you wondering what's next on the channel, so we have Thymesia, which is going to be my next playthrough. Going to do that on live streams. After Thymesia, I am finally going to get to Horizon Forbidden West, which I adored Horizon Zero Dawn, and I was really excited for Forbidden West. The only problem is it came out a week before Elden Ring, and I knew there was no way I was going to actually get through the game before Elden Ring came out, so I decided to save it for after Elden Ring. And, you know, I've been playing Elden Ring for a long time now. I really, you know, obviously love this game, and it is, you know, one of my favorite games of all time. I'm not sure exactly where I'd rank it, but it's up there. And, you know, I've obviously played a lot of Elden Ring, did a big exhaustive walkthrough. And then have done this, you know, quicker, more condensed walkthrough as well. And then in between there, took a little bit of a break just because that one walkthrough, I'm not going to lie, took a lot out of me. I was putting in a lot of long nights, and it was taking its toll on me after a while, just physically taking its toll on me. So I had to take a bit of a break there in between. So now we're in October, and I'm just now... This is going to be it for Elden Ring unless another patch that has big implications on how the game is played comes out, or until the DLC, which I'm assuming there will be DLC. There had better be DLC. I'd be shocked if there's not DLC. And when the DLC comes out, obviously I plan to cover that pretty exhaustively, but I would be shocked if we see DLC drop before next year. I expect the first DLC will probably come out right around the 1-year anniversary of the game. I would expect would be about right, but we'll see. That said, Sekiro never had proper story-driven DLC, but I expect with as popular as this game is, as many copies as it's sold, it would be a mistake to not do some DLC for this game. So I'll cover that exhaustively whenever it comes out. But as for what's immediately next, it's going to be Thymesia, and then Horizon Forbidden West, and you know, if a patch comes out that changes something in a major way, I'll cover that as well. Much like I did with the addition of the White Mask Vari offline side quest that was added in patch 1.06. I made a video for that. And then next year, there's a pretty big slate of games dropping next year. I mean, allegedly, we're supposed to get Final Fantasy 16. Breath of the Wild 2 drops next year. I think Final Fantasy 7 Remake Plus 2, they said winter, so that could be either December-ish or maybe January of 2024, but it could happen next year sometime. I'm not going to rule it out. So Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 2 could come out next year. And then there's some other stuff too that I am not thinking of. I'd have to look at a list of what's coming out next year to be fully reminded of everything. But yeah. Looking forward to all that good stuff. Which Breath of the Wild 2 has a name. I've seen, like, there was a brief little teaser that was released for it, and it has an official name. I forget what the name is though. And it's supposed to come out in May, I believe. Which, you know, it wouldn't be a Zelda game if it weren't delayed. But I think it already has been delayed, because I think originally it was announced that it was supposed to come out in 2022, and now they've said May of next year. So possibly that will be the only delay, but also possibly not. I can't think of a mainline Zelda game that wasn't delayed. So I would not at all be shocked if it doesn't come out until later. But assuming May next year is legit, then I will be playing that at launch. And Breath of the Wild 1 took me a solid 200 hours to get through my first playthrough, and that's because I was extremely thorough. Pretty much did everything I could find, did all the shrines, all the side stuff, as many Korok seeds as I could find. I went through the map pretty exhaustively, and that's how I enjoy games. I don't enjoy games by rushing through them. I enjoy games by getting the most out of them that I can. And so that's, you know, how I would expect my approach to Breath of the Wild 2 to be as well. Now, whether or not I would do a 100% walkthrough for Breath of the Wild 2, I don't know. I can't commit one way or the other, but I would say I doubt it. Just because your average Zelda game, especially if it's in the same vein as Breath of the Wild 1, there is way more content to cover than there is in your average Souls game. For example, Breath of the Wild 1, 900 Korok seeds. That would be the biggest pain in the world to make a 100% walkthrough for that. And quite frankly, I've never gotten all 900 Korok seeds in Breath of the Wild 1. So I would not expect that if there's a mechanic like that in Breath of the Wild 2 that I would do that. That I would get every single one just for the sake of doing it. Despite the fact that I do consider myself to be a completionist, I'm not that big of a completionist. And you know, if I would do a walkthrough, it would I wouldn't want to do it halfway either. But if the requirements, if there's too much crap to get in the game for me to reasonably do a 100% walkthrough, I'm probably not going to do one for that. As much as I adore Zelda. I'm going to go on and throw on my flask here and hope I don't get hit. Yes! Well, nope, I didn't actually get the flask off, unfortunately. Oh well. Ugh, Malekith Phase 2. So tough. I'm gonna throw on my flask here. Mimic doing well, though. Mimic is usually struggling by this point. Ugh. He moves so fast and then has these AoEs that are devastating. No, don't go after me. No. That was close. Almost got him. I barely won this fight in my New Game Plus playthrough first try. Barely. I had no flasks. I had very little health. And I pulled that one off by the skin of my teeth. This was actually a much more comfortable margin of victory than I had in my New Game Plus. All right. Good stuff. Okay, we're almost done with this thing, guys. And this will actually, I think my New Game Plus video is like 1 hour and 45 minutes. So this is shaping up to be much quicker than that. I mean, 15 minutes of that is probably attributable to the subterranean Shining Grounds. Maybe 10 minutes of that attributable. So I guess it's, you know, roughly in line. Because if I were to take the 15 minutes to do that, that would put me in about 1 hour and a half. And then, of course, probably about 15 minutes to close out the end game bosses here. So, yeah, probably about, you know, pretty comparable pace. But hope you guys nonetheless enjoyed this final journey through Elden Ring here, New Game Plus. Kind of, you know, went off script a bit. Well, there really is no script, but as I said, I just don't have much left to say as far as this game's concerned. So just kind of chit-chatted a bit. So hope you guys enjoyed that. And I try to, you know, relate to y'all and be open about stuff. Ah, he got his flask. Dang it. Ooh, I'm surprised that didn't kill me. Ooh, this attack can be bad. Oh, I'm out of. Mimic got the kill. I think Mimic got the kill in New Game Plus as well. I forgot to rest up before this fight too, so I didn't have all my flasks. Come on, let me out of here. After the Horaloo fight, I'm going to sell all my remembrances. And I don't think that I didn't put the gold scarab back on, did I? Nope. Doesn't matter. Definitely got to rest here, though. Yeah! That would have been bad if I'd been hit by it. Up. Oh, jeez. Mimic not doing so hot. I hope I don't have to fight. Okay, good. But say, I hope I don't have to fight Horaloo solo, because that's actually pretty tough. Oh, come on. He has iframes. Give me a break. Jump. Ah. He's got like 1 HP. Come on. There we go.
Tarnished. Thy strength befits a crown.
All right, I'm actually going to go back to Round Table and sell all my remembrances and level up as high as I can get. Including my Elden Beast remembrance from my previous playthrough. 1.8 million runes, no big deal. Let's see, as long as, yeah, my stamina keeps going up. I forget at what level stamina tops off. I think it's either 40 or 50. Okay. One more go with Radagon and Elden Beast for this playthrough, and also for me, probably for a very, very long time. It'll probably be a good while before I play through Elden Ring again and beat these bosses for another time. Another thing I kind of have on my radar, maybe not in the immediate future, but at some point, is a proper 100% walkthrough for Dark Souls 1 through 3. So I've got every From Software game on my channel, a walkthrough for every From Software game on my channel, except for Dark Souls 1 through 3. The only problem with getting platinums for those games is the level of farming required, especially for Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 3 has an egregious amount of farming required for the platinum trophy in that game. Oh, I jumped too early there. Dang it. Grab is pretty brutal. All right. Pretty solid Radagon fight. The problem is Elden Beast because he has a lot of nonsense you got to account for. Stuff that can one-shot you if you're not careful. Big part of it is watching out for his tells. Which, this is one of them. He's doing his ring attack, which oftentimes it targets Mimic, though, so we'll see who it goes after. Yep, that's me this time, okay. Mimic's still in good shape. Got hit. There went my bubble. Gotta drink my blue flask now. It's gonna blow! I think that attack killed me in my base new game. Wasn't quick enough. I think I was backing up trying to heal, and then I got caught in the blast radius. Now, this attack killed me, I think, in my New Game Plus playthrough because I wasn't running away from it fast enough, but that time I went after Mimic anyway. Oh geez, I need to get out of here. Triple ring, yep. Mimic's still holding strong, man. I think the last couple times he died in this fight before I killed Elden Beast. This attack again. Going after me this time. And see, he stacks multiple attacks at the same time, which is really hard to account for when you're running away from one thing and then he starts doing the next thing before the first one's finished. All right, almost got him. Oh, jeez. All right, there we go. Got him. Success. All right, guys. It has been real, y'all. I've really enjoyed doing this. Hope you guys have enjoyed watching. So for the third and final, well, I've already got the trophies, but if I hadn't already got the trophies, if you hadn't already gotten the trophies, this would be the third and final, just triggering the default ending. There are a couple endings you can get in this game that don't result in getting a trophy. But the only ones that have trophies are three: the default, and then the Ronnie, and the Frenzied Flame. So we've got all three of those. So that's going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I'll see y'all, hopefully, guys, in some future live streams or other videos that end up making. So really had a good time. So hope you guys did as well. And we'll see you guys later. Take care, everybody.